This episode of On the Beat is brought to you by Engles. Shop online with Engles Curbside Pickup. New curbside stores opening every week. Please welcome Mike Griffith.
Well, hey everybody, Mike Griffith here. Welcome to tonight's Engles on the Beat. This show was taped a little bit earlier from Allure, so right about now I should be about halfway down the coastline on this Royal Caribbean ship as Dog Nation celebrates yet another cruise. But for you, tonight's show centers on another national championship run. I want to give you a little bit of a draft preview. Obviously, Thursday night, first round of the NFL draft. How many dogs are going to go in that? And then probably the coldest take, hottest take on something really cold. And I want to save for the final segment. I mean, I can't even believe my eyes and what I saw. You probably have seen it on the internet. Maybe not. You're going to want to hang around for that. But let's start with a national championship run for Georgia football. And all we've seen so far is a spring game. That's all we've seen. It's a scrimmage. Kirby controls it. He's not going to show us everything. Obviously, he doesn't want to show Clemson everything. Long way to go between now and August 31st when Georgia plays Clemson in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But I saw enough to be convinced that, you know what? Yeah, they can make it 3 national championships in the last 4 years. Absolutely positive of that. It starts with staff chemistry. And I'm going to tell you why. Kirby has 4 new assistants, most notably T-Rob, right? Brand new co-defensive coordinator, steps into the shoes of Will Muschamp. And I really believe Will Muschamp was a hidden hero. I really believe Will was a guy that Kirby needed to bounce things off of, a guy that he viewed as an equal. And I think that really helped Georgia out in 2021 and 2022. And obviously, Will is still on staff, but as an analyst, he wants to see his son play a little football at Vanderbilt. So here comes Travaris Robinson from Alabama. Big steal for Georgia during that Nick Saban changeover, because Robinson, for all intents and purposes, was the defensive coordinator. When I talked to those Alabama players at the Combine, they talked about the DOA mentality. And I know that's probably not politically correct to say dead on arrival, but when you're playing defense, man, you got to get jacked up. And that's what this guy did for that Crimson Tide defense. I think he's going to do the same thing at Georgia. I think he's going to carry Kirby's message, right? Got a new running backs coach. You got this fantastic running backs room. Coach Crawford will be working with Trevor Etienne. He'll be working with Rod Robinson. We know that Branson Robinson says he's ready to come back. He thinks he can get 1,000 yards. Guy hadn't played in over a year. A lot of confidence in that running back room. A lot of confidence with this new staff. I think that continuity needs to carry over and trickle down into the players and give Georgia a refreshed and renewed mentality. Every year, it's a different mentality. It's a different team. So I start out with the number one key is that Kirby's staff has got to have that chemistry to get these guys on the same page and to get to playing very fierce. Number 2 key, I don't know how many times I'm going to say Carson Beck's name, but it feels like a million. But Carson Beck is the guy that's going to drive this team down the field. I saw enough in the G-Day game to feel confident that he can do that. I loved the last-minute drive. I loved that Kirby put him out there at the 30-yard line and said, go get him, and Beck got it done. Now, early on, I didn't think Carson was real sharp. He had some balls batted down to the line of scrimmage. I give the Georgia defense a ton of credit for that, but I felt like Carson adjusted. I saw him make plays. I saw him make throws that I'm not sure any other quarterback in the nation can make. And I'm not, as you know, overly convinced with this receiving core. I think they're adequate, but I don't think we're talking about 2019 LSU or 2020 Alabama, right? These guys are adequate. Dom Lovett, this is a guy that stepped up. I think he's going to be the go-to guy. I think he's going to approach 100 catches. ETN, what he does out of the backfield is absolutely dynamic. Up the middle, deceptive power that I did not know that he had. And the way he bounced that edge run, you got to think, Georgia, one of the fastest teams and toughest teams in the nation to run on side to side. And we saw ETN get that corner, and that was huge. He is going to blow it up. I think he's on par for a 1,000-yard season. But dial it back, starts with Carson Beck. Carson goes to the line. He's got to make the right reads. He's got to make the right checks. He's got to be in rhythm with these new receivers. I think that Carson Beck can lead Georgia to an undefeated season. And I do believe Carson Beck will be a Heisman Trophy finalist, provided he takes care of business and Georgia doesn't lose more than one game, makes the playoff. Look for Carson Beck in New York. Finally, the third key, this defensive front seven. I had been so focused on the defensive tackles. What does Warren Brinson do? What does Nazir Stackhouse do? Is Jordan Big Baby Hall ready to go? I don't know that. Christian Miller, we'll see. We've heard bits and pieces, but we haven't really seen these guys produce in mass. But then all of a sudden, Michael Williams stepped up. absolute monster game. And you're saying, now this is the dominator that we saw make freshman All-American. Last year he was injured, didn't practice a lot. That guy was dominating. Jalen Walker hadn't practiced for 2 weeks, went out there and was knocking some people down and was making some plays. You just don't see many guys that are 242 that can come off the edge or play in the middle. And then I dialed it back in my brain. I go, wow, we got Jalen Walker, we got Michael Williams, you got Brinson, you got Stackles. I'm like, Malachi Starks didn't even play. Malachi wasn't even out. Smile Munden didn't even play. These are first-round talents that did not even play in the G-Day game. And I started to put it all together. I said, all right, maybe they don't have the train wrecker, right? Maybe they don't have the havoc maker. Maybe they're not number one in the nation in run defense, but they darn sure aren't going to be number 18 like they were last year. They're going to be top 10. They got some playmakers. They got some experienced guys back. This team absolutely has what it takes to get it done. So much is going to be determined by what they do in the offseason. How much do they train on their own? What's the team mentality? Remember Kirby Smart's motto this year, assume nothing. I think he's going to apply that to those players. There's a lot of competition for positions. We're not through with the transfer portal spring period quite yet, but so far, nothing real big. Listen, I like Andrew Paul. I think he was going to be a contributor, probably the third or fourth string running back. Nobody else really of significance in terms of guys you go, oh my gosh, he's not going to be in lineup. Does Georgia go out there? And as of this show, do they get the backup quarterback? Do they find another dynamic receiver? Is there an impact D lineman? I don't know. I think Kirby feels good about the team that he has. When we talked to him about it, he said he was focused on retention, right? And obviously he acknowledged that they do want that extra scholarships quarterback. We say extra, but what if something were to happen to Carson Beck? Then all you've got is Gunnar Stockton, Ryan Puglisi, true freshman. I think you want that veteran guy to come in here and compete for the number 2 with Gunnar. And maybe be your next quarterback, or maybe not, but at the very least give you some experience depth. So really there weren't many T's to cross and I's to dot for Georgia in the transfer portal. And at this point, as of the taping of the show on this Monday night, Georgia has not lost anyone of significance. That's the first segment. And the second segment, I want to talk a little NFL draft because it's coming up. I've written so much about it. I was at the NFL Combine. I was at Pro Day. I've covered these guys' careers. Got a lot to say about that. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, Engles, for bringing this program to you every Monday night. A little bit different look tonight. Obviously, I'm standing on the Allure cruise ship. This is part of our Dog Nation cruise. Obviously, Royal Caribbean, one of our sponsors. Appreciate them. But this show every Monday, Engles on the beat. I want to take this moment, recognize our sponsor, Engles. And when I come back, I'm going to give you some NFL draft talk. Stay with me here.
At Engles, we're proud to work with hundreds of local farms and businesses in the communities we call home. Not only does it ensure that you get top-quality, fresh items for your family table, it's a way for us to support the amazing individuals who pour their heart and soul into delivering the very best they can do. Quality, freshness, community, it's all in the bag. Engles, low prices, love the savings.
Well, welcome back to the program. As promised, a little bit of NFL draft talk from Allure of the Seas on our Dog Nation cruise, bringing you Engles on the beat. A little bit different look, but the same message. We're talking Georgia football. Brock Bowers, man. Thursday night, he's not going to be at the draft. He's not going to be wearing some flashy suit. He's going to be at home, I think, with his parents. Listen, Brock just wants to play football. That's all this guy wants to do. He really didn't want to do interviews with the coach. He's polite. He'll answer your questions. But he really doesn't want to talk about football issues. He really doesn't want to talk about – he loves his team. He loves his teammates. But Brock Bowers just wants to put the helmet on and play ball. And that is why he is a perfect fit for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. And you've heard that repeatedly. I know there's been a lot of, well, what if Brock Bowers drops? What if he slips? I said, well, what if the moon crashes into the sun? I mean, this is one of the most transformational players in recent history in college football. Brock Bowers is more than a tight end, folks. You know that. He is a matchup nightmare. This is a guy that can run the ball. This is a guy with an incredible catch radius. He can run away from you. I don't know what his 40 was, 4.53, but have somebody chase him. He's going to go a lot faster than that. How many times did you see Brock Bowers get caught from behind? How many times did you see Brock Bowers drop a pass? I got the answer to that, 0. This guy is special. He's different. I know he kind of defies logic with his size and maybe not exactly what you'd expect at this position, but someone smart in the NFL, these guys make a lot of money. Someone's going to recognize and say, you know what? This guy's different. We want this. This is the guy that was the key, the most pivotal player on Georgia's national championship offense the last 2 years. This was the guy nobody had an answer for. And if they tried too hard, Monken would just move him around and get everybody confused. TCU still trying to sort that out. Could not line up against this guy. The NFL will be hard-pressed. He will be the first Bulldog off of the board. Amari Mims, look, 6'7", 340, 17% body fat. You don't coach that. This guy is a beast. He loves football. He has joy. He smiles when he pulverizes people. The guy only played 8 games, and he's a first round. Think about how much mileage is left on these tires. Somebody's going to grab Amarius Mims. I know he's projected there in the 20s. I know the Steelers are one of the teams on the board. Somebody's going to grab this guy by the end of the first round. Then comes the mystery. Does Ladd McConkey get into the first round? Maybe, maybe not, right? It's a very deep draft for wide receivers, but only one team's got to like it. Ladd is quick. He's explosive. He's going to get open right off the line. I know he's got a little injury history. Teams always look at that, but doesn't everybody? Doesn't everybody get a little nicked up? I mean, Marvin Harrison, there was a couple games he didn't finish, for goodness sake. So I like Ladd. I don't think he falls below the Carolina Panthers early in the second round. Kamari Lassiter, another guy that started out with a first-round draft grade. We talked about the combine and these 40 times, and so much can be made out of this deal. But Kamari ran a little bit slower at the Georgia Pro Day than he probably would have ran in Indianapolis. So important you get with the right agents that understand, like Kamari Lassiter, to go late first round, early second round. So we'll see where Kamari Lassiter goes. I liked Kamari Lassiter, late first round, early second round, no later than late second round. A couple other guys to make note of. Javon Bullard has shot up the rankings for safeties. Don't be surprised if he doesn't slip late into the second, mid-third round. A big achiever. Tyke Smith also with a very good NFL draft process. Other guys you're going to see picked, maybe Kendall Milton gets picked, Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint, Cedric Van Pran certainly will be the third or fourth center off the board. This guy's going to be a stalwart. He's going to be a leader. Georgia will be well represented in the NFL draft. I would say the goal for Georgia is to see 10 guys drafted. That would be fantastic. I would say maybe the over-under is 9. Still, yet another strong draft for Kirby Smart, and all those prospects are going to pay attention. That's why they come to Georgia. They want to win championships, absolutely. They want to be developed, but they want to be drafted. And there's a reputation for these Kirby Smart players year after year after year. You play at Georgia, you know how to win championships, you know how to work, and you know how to play special teams. And that adds extra value. So pay close attention to that. When we get into 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, and a few of those dogs are hanging out there on the board, they're going to get picked because they're willing to do what it takes to win titles, and they're willing to play special teams. I want to take my final break. When I come back, coldest hot take of the season. I'm not sure how dog fans are going to feel about it. I know how some other fans in the Sunshine State feel about it. Little hint for you there. This next segment is brought to you by Anytime Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. We'll be right back with the hottest cold take of this offseason.
Want to make sure your family stays comfortable all year long? Our family of trained comfort specialists are available anytime to service or repair your system. Or it may be time to replace your old units with a new Trane HVAC system.
We are a locally owned family business, and we carefully select the technicians who we send into your home.
At Anytime Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, we are large enough to handle all of your HVAC and plumbing needs,
but small enough to care.
Call today to take advantage of our 3-visit annual maintenance plan.
Welcome back to the program, the hottest cold take of the year. And I really didn't want to pick on this program. I really didn't. But they just won't stop the crying. They just won't stop the complaining. And now here comes the revisionist history. Okay, you can put whatever you want on your bowl rings, Florida State. You can put 13-0. You can put ACC champions. But don't put unconquered. Stop. 63-3. It was a historic loss. It was the worst bowl loss in history. It was the most devastating loss in program history. And you're going to put unconquered on your ring? I mean, who are you trying to kid here? What type of medication are these people on that are designing this jewelry? I mean, I'm sorry, but unconquered is not the message, right? Best, champs, whatever you want to say. They were ACC champs. Okay, they were 13-0 in the regular season. But when you put unconquered, there's an implication there that you were unconquered and they were conquered. Why were they conquered? Because they had a lot of guys opt out. Why did they have a lot of guys opt out? Because they had a lot of transfers that weren't bought in the program that didn't feel it important enough to play for one another. And by putting that unconquered on there and trying to deal that revisionist history, I think you do Georgia a disservice, right? Georgia players stuck together. I don't understand why everybody wants to play the victim story. Oh, let's just bring out the violins for Florida State and cry all over again. Look, they weren't one of the 4 best teams at the end of the year. They were lucky to get by Florida, And they didn't look good against Louisville. That was not one of the 4 best, okay? Not most deserving. They deserved to be, but they weren't one of the 4 best. And this unconquered ring thing, this is such a society we're in where I guess if enough people say something, it becomes true. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to let it go, because the good story that college football needed happened when Georgia players stuck together and played in a non-playoff game. Everybody goes, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with this NIL? What are we going to do with this me first mentality? Something's got to be done in college football. You know what needs to be done? Good coaching, buy-in, teaching kids accountability. Exactly what Georgia did is what needs to happen in college football. It can happen. And that was evidence of that. But for some reason, people don't want to grab that story. They don't want to grab how all the healthy Georgia guys played and put their draft stack on the line in a game that wasn't a playoff game. They don't want to embrace that. They want to keep talking about Florida State being robbed and boo-hoo, and now here comes the unconquered ring. And I just couldn't leave it alone. And you'll see that on DawgNation.com. I hope you guys have enjoyed the program. Don't forget this week, Dawg Nation Daily with Brandon Adams. Every day, 10 a.m. We got some really cool programming set up. Centels and Tells on Wednesday night. Thursday night, Kaylee and Connor have a heck of a show lined up. It's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little special. This week's going to have a little different vibe to it, but there's still going to be a lot of Georgia football and a lot of Georgia talk right here on DawgNation.com. You can check us out on our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook channel. I want to thank my producer, Kaylee Manziel, and I want to thank Engles for sponsoring On the Beat. Have a great week, everybody.